Howdy, free people of the Rocky Mountain region, and happy Friday. This is Brandon from FreeStateColorado.com with your weekly roundup for today, March 17th, 2023. Let's take a look at some Colorado news stories that you might have missed. Let's start off here with KKCO 11 News, NBC 11 News affiliate. Colorado's Attorney General wants more oversight into social platforms. Of course, he does. The social media app Snapchat is under fire from Colorado lawmakers and parents who say that the messaging app creates the perfect environment for drug dealers to target children. In a report released Thursday, Weiser said that social media is becoming a nexus for illicit drug distribution, but it's unclear how deep the problem runs. The report found that social media platforms are not transparent with their data. Sometimes law enforcement faces delays. It can be quite a significant delay before they are getting access to information related to distribution of fentanyl on these platforms, said Weiser. The study found dealers are elusive, using emojis and slang terms to avoid detection and exploiting loopholes in app infrastructure and moderation policies. Not all platforms have a one strike and you're out policy. Some platforms allow multiple chances of being caught distributing deadly drugs before they are told you're out, said Weiser. Weiser said he believes there should be more oversight on the platforms. Snapchat needs to change their platform and make it a safe platform if it's going to be an existing platform. Wow. So I don't know what you think about this, but I think this sounds absolutely like an excuse for the government to get its hands in our social media, of course, because if they want to regulate Snapchat because of drugs, I'm sure they're going to go after all the other social platforms as well. And just another way that the government wants more access to our social media data and use this information against us. I mean, we saw what happened to, protesters in January at the Capitol a couple years ago, what happened to them using their social media data. It's no surprise that social media companies are using that data to spy on us and giving it to the government pretty easily. And unfortunately for Attorney General Phil Weiser, he wants more access to that data quite faster and easier. So something to watch. Social media is under the gun for a lot of reasons from all sides of the political spectrum. So interesting news story. I think it's going to keep continuing into the future. Let's move on. This is from the denvergazette.com, March 11th, 2023. Colorado Republicans elect Dave Williams to lead state party for next 2 years. Now, I'm pretty excited about this. Dave Williams is somebody I know personally. I would call him a friend. I think he's actually a fighter that we really do need here in the state of Colorado. We need somebody with a backbone who's going to stand up to this authoritarian Democratic class that's just trampling over our rights every chance they get. Dave Williams is not going to pull any punches. From the article, Colorado Republicans on Saturday elected Dave Williams, a former state lawmaker from Colorado Springs, who insists that former President Donald Trump won the 2020 presidential election to lead the state party for the next 2 years. Of course, Colorado politics, Denver Gazette, the AP, all these articles, that's all they ever want to talk about is the 2020 election and the doubts that Dave Williams, like so many Coloradans, like two-thirds of Colorado Republicans had over the legitimacy of that election. But of course, these journalists cannot stop talking about that because for them, that's more important than anything else. From the article, we need a wartime leader who will boldly articulate our conservative America First agenda while going toe to toe with the radical Democrats every chance we get, Williams said in a combative speech before the first round of voting at a party meeting in Loveland. Wow. Now, Ernest Lunning, who wrote this article, is usually pretty fair, but this seems like the media is after Dave from the get go, from the outset. So I, for one, am excited. I think that Dave Williams is somebody that their party needs, somebody with bold leadership who's going to shake things up. And I've been really disappointed in seeing some of these Twitter Republicans come out and say that they're leaving the party because of that. Just very shameful. And I think there's a lot of good opportunity for liberty here in Colorado now that Williams is the state party chair for the Republican Party of Colorado. So interesting to see. We'll keep an eye on what he does, see if he's able to make some progress and hopefully get some wins coming up in 2024. That'll ultimately put all of the naysayers to rest, as if the Republican Party can pick up some House seats. And by that I mean seats in the state legislature, the state House, maybe even some state Senate seats, and pick up some offices here or there. That could really make an opportunity for everybody to get behind Dave Williams. All right, let's move on. An Axios article from March 10th, 2023. Homelessness, politics, and voter frustration drive local elections in the West. So, what are Republicans and liberty minded candidates should be looking at as we go into the next election cycle? Well, we're seeing it now with the 2023 elections, particularly the Denver mayor, city council, and Colorado Springs races. Homelessness is emerging as a potent political issue in local elections this year, particularly when coupled with related concerns about crime. The political pressure is leading candidates and elected officials, even prominent Democrats such as New York Mayor Eric Adams, California Governor Gavin Newsom, to embrace hardline approaches such as involuntary commitment and arrests to clear illegal encampments. Wow. So they're saying this article also says that the entangled problems of homelessness and crime helped oust Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, now are poised to upend municipal races in Denver, Phoenix, and Salt Lake City. So, very true. A recent poll in the Denver mayoral race, a national Democratic hub, found more than the 70% embraced forcing people living on the streets with serious addictions to get help, and nearly 60% backed sweeps to clear illegal homeless camps. Yeah, it's an interesting issue. There's a big divide in the Democratic Party on the side of homeless advocates and people who live in Denver, who have businesses, who have houses, whose kids go to school there. It's an unsafe environment in many places. So the article continues in Denver, it's the number one campaign issue, the differentiator among the candidates. Now we're talking about affordability. All the candidates believe affordable housing is the solution, but until it's built on solutions proposed to include more sanctioned campsites, so homeless campsites, temporary housing in hotels, and forced commitments to mental and drug addiction facilities. So, yeah, I mean, as the homeless situation gets worse in Denver, as crime continues to increase, people are going to be looking for answers. People are going to be looking for solutions. And a lot of these politicians don't have good solutions. So, whoever can figure that out can really gain a lot of political power. Let's go ahead and move on. Colorado's wealthiest hospitals favored in 1.2 billion COVID bailout. This is from March 12th, 2023, coloradopolitics.com. 3 years ago, as a mysterious and deadly virus began to take hold in Colorado, hospital executives in the state scrambled to formulate plans, meeting weekly, sometimes daily, with elected officials, public health experts, and with each other to get ahead of the coming storm they feared could overwhelm and financially cripple the system. In the first year of the scamdemic, Colorado's 100 hospitals accepted a total of $1.2 billion in direct relief under the CARES Act. Hundreds of millions more were given in grants to offset the cost of retaining staff and in advance payments for Medicare patients, which were to be paid back. But now, looking back, significant questions have emerged whether the large, wealthy hospitals truly needed the money. And despite alarm bells at the time from the Colorado Hospital Association predicting upwards of $7 billion in losses by 2021 and possible forced closures, reviews of financial records and state policy reports by the Denver Gazette show that during the pandemic, the rich hospitals simply got richer, especially as time went on and revenues bounced back. Wow. For instance, nonprofit UC Health, one of the state's largest systems with 12 hospitals, received more than $270 million in direct provider relief funds in the first 2 years, plus another $44 million in 2022, and that did not include the $458 million in Medicare advance payments in 2023, which the system has since repaid. So these hospitals made buku bucks. They made a ton of money during this whole situation, this whole 3 years of tyranny that we've experienced in our state. So no surprise there, right? I mean, they got bailed out. They got a lot of money. The wealthier got wealthier. The poorer got poorer. And people on the edge were pushed over the edge in many instances. But just another example of how the state's response to the situation was totally wrong. I mean, they failed. They totally failed to meet their obligations to help the community out. So we cannot forget the crimes of the COVID era. All right, let's move on to the next article here this morning. Tragedy in Denver. This is from March 12th, 2023. So this past weekend, 7 separate weekend shootings leave 1 dead, 11 wounded in Denver metro. Wow. It's becoming Chicago level violence. Absolutely terrible. And in my mind, I think a lot of this does stem from we're living in that fallout of that COVID era. All of these policies that tore a hole in our society, tore a hole in the fabric of civil society, has pushed a lot of people over the edge, left a lot of people hopeless, and led to a lot of problems for a lot of people. And we're still living in it now. I mean, this the solution to this violence is not going to be overnight, unfortunately. It's very easy to destroy society, as we've seen. It's a lot harder to rebuild it, to get to a situation where this is not happening. Multiple Denver area police agencies are investigating 7 separate weekend shootings that left one person dead and wounded 11 others. There were 2 separate shootings in Denver, including one fatal early Saturday morning. Aurora police are investigating 2 unrelated shootings involving motorists and a triple shooting Sunday evening. And 2 double shootings in Commerce City and Adams County left 4 wounded. Wow. Oh, that is so terrible. Let's take a look at this map here. I mean, it's all across Denver, Aurora, the whole metro area down there. It's a situation that's not great, people. I mean, this is what's going on in our cities. We can't ignore the crime, and of course, another example of why good people, why law-abiding citizens need to be able to defend themselves, of course. So let's move on. The Center Square, March 9th, 2023. Think tank Gun bill aims to eliminate American firearm business through litigation. Yes, so as we just saw, crime is out of control in Denver. People are being shot daily. And of course, what do the Democrats want to do in our state capital? They want to make it easy to eliminate the American firearms business. Well, it's not going to stop criminals from engaging in criminal activity, but it will stop the law abiding from being able to defend themselves. The bill making its way through the Colorado General Assembly quote, plainly designed to eliminate American firearm businesses through litigation, a report from the right-leaning think tank in Colorado argues. Senate Bill 23-168 was voted out of the state's Senate Veterans and Military Affairs Committee on Wednesday. It's one of a package of gun restriction bills introduced by Democrats. Current state law limits the liability of firearm and ammunition manufacturers to situations where their products are defective. The bill would repeal the limitation. It passed on a 3-2 vote along party lines and is referred to the Senate committee as a whole. In a paper published by Independence Institute research director David Kopel, this bill he describes as the Bloomberg bill, of course, where former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg influenced the New York legislature to enact a state statute authorizing lawsuits against firearm businesses for conduct even outside the state. The new statute provided no notice of what lawful conduct would subject a firearms business to a suit, the report states. The new Bloomberg laws, including Colorado Senate Bill 23-168, are plainly designed to eliminate American firearms businesses through litigation costs. Bill sponsors Senators Sonia Jaquez Lewis, tyrant, Dee Longmont, Chris Kolker, decennial tyrant. Both stated the bill creates fairness for those harmed by gun violence. Oh gosh, give me a break here. It's not the fault of the gun manufacturer. It's not the fault of the gun store if somebody takes that firearm and uses it in the commission of a crime. It's not the fault of an auto dealership if somebody drives drunk. Am I wrong? It's not the fault of, a knife manufacturer if somebody uses that knife in the commission of a crime. I mean, come on. It's not the gun manufacturer's fault that somebody uses the product in a way that is unlawful. But this is exactly right. Dave Kopel's got it hit the nail on the head. These Colorado Democrats, these authoritarian political establishment wants to eliminate the firearms industry. They want to disarm law-abiding Coloradans. They want to create a situation where only the state has guns. But of course, it won't just be the state. We all know that it'll be criminals. Criminals don't care about these laws, whether it's lawful or not to own a gun. So watch as people do not let them take your guns. Let's move on. A couple more articles this week. Colorado Public Radio. CPR News. Colorado Republicans attempted to filibuster gun control and supervised drug use bills, leading to a legislative all-nighter. It's also from March 10th, 2023, last week. I really want to share this because we do have some liberty leaders in the Colorado legislature, some really good people down there, pro-gun legislators who are trying to fight, doing everything they can, even though the Democrats have a large majority. These Republicans are still doing what they can out there to fight back. Colorado House members did not enter the state capitol building as usual Friday morning. Instead of getting a start on the workday, most were leaving the Capitol after wrapping up a marathon debate on stricter gun laws and supervised drug use. The all-nighter was a result of House Republicans' attempt to filibuster two bills, one to institute a 3-day waiting period for gun purchases, and another to let local governments decide whether people would be able to use illicit drugs such as heroin and fentanyl under the supervision of medical professionals. So there you go. There's some mixed thoughts about the supervised injection sites, but hey, call Phil Weiser, get on Snapchat. They can order their fentanyl to the drug place, get shoot up with the drugs, and absolutely crazy to see that happening in our cities, in our society. And then of course a 3-day waiting period for gun purchases. I mean, come on, your rights are not subject to a waiting period. You don't have 3 days to wait before you have to say something online. I mean, absolutely crazy. Let's see here. House Bill 1219 is part of a package of Democratic gun bills, which also includes raising the minimum age for purchasing firearms to 21, expanding the list of people who can fire an extreme risk gun confiscation order, and making it easier to sue firearm manufacturers for liability, which we just saw. So here's one of our Liberty leaders, Ken DeGraff. Republican State Representative Ken DeGraff of Colorado Springs called the waiting period bill difficult because he thinks the intentions behind it are good. Still, he said he can't support it. Mental health and suicide are serious issues and they need to be addressed. But there is significant history and there's a significant reason why the framers of our Constitution bounded our decision making in the Constitution the way they did. Exactly. So the debate on the measure lasted until 2 a.m. Then it was on to supervised drug use sites. Wow. So very, very interesting. Do we want Republicans are saying, of course, if you allow supervised drug injection sites, it would encourage illegal drug use and endanger public safety. They also question whether the move would actually save lives. So you're right on here. This article is exactly right. Lawmakers expect more late nights as GOP uses its limited toolbox. While late nights and debates until the early morning hours are typical, overnight debates are rare, and they almost never involve Saturday work. What we're hoping for is that the Democrats will stop pursuing these political ideological goals and they will actually meet us and have conversations about how we do the work that the people of Colorado sent us here to do, said Republican House Minority Leader Mike Lynch. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much that Republicans can do to fight back because the majorities are so skewed. However, running out the clock, there's a limit to how long the legislative session lasts every year. The closer we get to May when this limit runs out, the less time that these Democrats have to push an authoritarian agenda on our state. So good on the Republicans. Slow them down any way they can. I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to. Just keep it going. Don't give up. And good liberty leaders need the support of the people. That's really what it comes down to. So support people like Ken DeGraff, Scott Bonham, Stephanie Luck, and others out there who are fighting for our freedom. Moving on. Complete Colorado, page 2. Rob Nadelson. Consequences of Colorado's plastic bag tax rolling in. March 13th, 2023. I've seen 3 baskets go out just this morning. I know there's more. Checker at a Wheat Ridge King Supers. The supposedly unintended consequences from Colorado's anti-plastic bag law keep rolling in. In my last column on the subject, I reported how the law requires retailers to deposit part of the tax on sacks in non-existent accounts. The latest is that grocery store customers, frustrated at having to pay a tax for formerly free bags, are stealing small plastic baskets at an alarming rate. The baskets started disappearing about a month ago. A checker in the Lakewood store told me, "We don't have any anymore." Without free paper bags, people use the baskets to carry out items to their cars and then just drive away, carrying the baskets with them. Theft? Sure it is. But anyone who knows beans about government is aware that poorly crafted regulations can encourage citizen dishonesty as well as other bad consequences. So, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely terrible. Nadelson does a great job going through the article here about these plastic bag bans, the environmental consequences, and the silliness and foolishness of this as fool's errand, basically, and trying to get people to stop using plastic bags by threat of law. Absolutely terrible. This is another example of the war on the working class. I mean, you have people who are working 2 jobs, 40, 60, 80 hours a week. Then they have to pay to be able to carry their groceries home to their kids. I mean, come on, it's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Buy your own plastic bags online, bring them in. Absolutely stupid. But take a look at that article. Rob Nadelson does some good work. Complete Colorado, page 2, always has some very interesting articles throughout the week. Some great original reporting that you won't hear anywhere else. A couple more articles for you today. ColoradoPolitics.com. This is from the Sentinel Colorado editorial board on March 14th, 2023. So far, legislative affordable housing solutions are problematic. Oh, exactly. I mean, the government cannot solve our problems. The market, entrepreneurs, they can solve our problems. The government can only get in the way, pick winners and losers, and make it a lot harder for these entrepreneurs to solve our problems. So this editorial goes, one of the few certain things about regional and local housing crisis is that it is absolutely a crisis. There is no doubt that the spiraling cost of apartment and house rent in Aurora and across the Metroplex, even across the state, is creating a vast economic conundrum that will plague the region for possibly decades. The economic crisis for tens of thousands of people and families in Colorado is profound. Economists have seen and studied the problem many times over. Hit first and hardest, the working poor become the working desperate as inflation hikes virtually everything they could barely afford before. The crisis among the poor and the middle class then balloons as rising housing rents gobble paychecks already too small to live on. The landlord's dream, endlessly growing rents with a seemingly endless supply of people, unhappily willing to pay, creates an unsustainable community. The pressure for workers to find the highest paying job possible creates an unstable and equally untenable labor market that creates more pressure to raise consumer prices, and so the cycle of inflation spirals upward. Economists agree. I don't know about this last paragraph here. I mean, it is the Sentinel, of course. The Sentinel's pretty left-wing authoritarian, very poor understanding of economics. However, the fact that you get people like the Sentinel coming out against these rent control measures, against these affordable housing measures, does say a lot about it. But yeah, interesting to see affordable housing solutions. Of course, these Democrats want to make it harder for people to rent property out. They want to make it harder for landlords to operate. What's that going to do? Well, it's only going to create incentives for people not to rent their property out in Denver and other places. All right, let's move on. Fox 31, KDVR.com. Bill could enforce substance-free seating at Colorado entertainment venues. So, I mean, how stupid is this that the state government wants to force private institutions, wants to force entertainment venues to provide substance-free seating? I mean, come on. If you've been to some of these small theaters, some of these small sports arenas, it's not like they have a ton of seats anyway. They need to fill every seat in there to make some money. And now you're going to say that those people in those seats are unable to drink? Well, nobody's going to want to sit there, and the people who do, you don't have to drink. People, you don't have to drink if you want to be there. You save your $8 or whatever they charge for a beer or more, and not drink. It doesn't need to be forced by law. I mean, this is absolute idiocy. A new bill is being considered in the Senate, and if passed, it would require substance-free seating at large Colorado concert, sports, and entertainment venues. Senate Bill 23-171 is also known as the Large Entertainment Facility Substance-Free Seating Requirement Bill. It was introduced by Democratic Senator Kevin Priola, one of the biggest targets for the 2024 election, an absolute disgrace to the county and in the community in which he represents, and Democrat Representative Chris DeGray Kennedy on February 27th. According to the bill, if passed, it would require an entertainment facility with a seating capacity of 7,000 or more to designate and enforce at least 4% of that seating as a substance-free area. The area cannot be limited to seats that are either higher or further away from the activity. So you read that, right? You heard that. Require, wow, and enforce. Require and enforce. So it's absolutely ridiculous, absolutely stupid. Places like Ball Arena, Coors Field, and Red Rocks would have to make 4% of their seating substance free. So what happens? Somebody over there has a beer, they get kicked out. I mean, come on, this is so stupid. And it's so, so dumb. Let's hope this bill fails. I mean, these politicians have nothing better to do. Crime's out of control. Our roads are totally destroyed. I mean, people are struggling in their communities. And Kevin Priola says, oh, we should, let's make these entertainment venues, let's force them to provide seating for people who don't want to drink, I guess. So stupid. You don't have to drink. It's not like you're being forced to spend a ridiculous amount of money on alcohol at these entertainment venues. You don't need the government to come in and require it. Absolutely, absolutely idiotic. Another example of how dumb politicians are and how how important it is for liberty-minded and rational people to speak up, stand up, and get involved in your community, folks. The world is a strange place these days, but thankfully it's a little more transparent, a little more open to all the tyranny we've been seeing over the last 3+ years. And it's really up to us as individuals, as people who believe in freedom and liberty, to stand up and do something about it. So thank you very much. Hope you had a great week. I hope you have a great weekend. Spring is in the air. Feels like it's coming around. We're going to get warmer soon. So hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next time. Take care.